I think the people I worked with the ones that did get baptized, that did progress, they were just so prepared. Anyone could have taught them. And one particular, Amber, she got baptized in my last area. She was amazing. Like, her husband was already a member, and she'd never been baptized ever. And they'd got married, and he hadn't like really come to church for a little while, but he really wanted to come back. And so they just came to church on their own. Like, no one worked with them. They just showed up. And I think it was my first Sunday too. Like, my first Sunday in that area, they just show up. We introduce ourselves. We come by that evening, and it was just magic. Like, she got baptized a couple months later, and I loved that family. Their families will just adopt you in the South, and that was one of my favorite families. I think maybe some like more of my challenging things. Like, there'd just be people that you work with that you just love so much, and they'll just disappear off the face of the earth. Like, this lady, we were teaching her, and she just disappeared. Like, she was amazing. She was golden. But it was this really poor area, and she just, like, we didn't hear from her for like a month. And we show up at her door, and they were like, we found you. We're like, yeah, you live. And she's like, oh, I've just been in jail. We're like, what the? I wasn't thinking she was in jail. I just thought she was avoiding us. But no, she was in jail. And so I didn't really expect that. But we kept working with her, and she's just a really sweet lady. But she got in a fight with someone, and things happened, I guess. We had this lady we taught who's Pentecostal, and it was like a week before baptism, and she just didn't show up for church that Sunday. So we're like, oh, that's weird. Like, she should be here. She's getting baptized next week. And we texted her, and she texted back. She's like, oh, the Spirit led me a different way. You can come and pick up your books. I never want to see you again. Like, blah, 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 blah. And just like went off on the church. Like, what the? Like, which is out of nowhere. And that was my first time ever being dropped by an investigator. And it stunk. Like, it was awful. But she was a really amazing lady. I just think she like was very susceptible to the Spirit, but she couldn't like discern good versus bad. And so she had like this evil man living with her in her trailer. And like, he just was really scary. Like, he said he was blind, but he could like see spirits. Like, he could just like sense them, their outlines. And it was just like spooky. But she's just sitting there reading to him from the book of Revelations and like just having this cute little moment, I guess. It was weird. But I don't know. So just weird stuff will happen, and you roll with it. You keep going. You just, oh well, find someone new. Like, this one time, I got woken up at like 3 a.m. We were sharing our apartment with the sister training leaders, and I woke up at 3 a.m. My companion and them are pulling in mattresses into my room, and I was like, what's going on? They said, our downstairs neighbor, he murdered his girlfriend, and we heard it, and we think he heard us, so we barricaded the door, we've called president, we called the cops. I was like, what the heck? Like, it was the weirdest way to be woken up. But they told me the story, and I believed it. Like, they were always fighting, and he was just like not a nice dude, and they were in this big fight, and I'd fallen asleep because I can fall asleep like a rock. And my companion stayed up to make sure that she was safe, and she just like, it got to this point where she screamed, what are you gonna do, kill me? And then it was just silent, and like all these crazy noises. The dog was barking like crazy, and then they hear this thump, 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 thump down the metal staircase. Then he comes back up, and then they call the cops, and the cops just knock on the door. He doesn't answer the door. They hear like water, I don't know, just like weird sounds at night. And so it was freaky. Our mission president just texted back, and he's like, go back to sleep. We're like, okay. And so the next morning, we completely thought she was dead. But then the other sisters saw her alive. She had a black eye, but it was really scary for a second.